Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Burbank, and it is a wonderful day, wonderful opportunity for you all to learn about mental health. Today's podcast episode, I'm going to be recording and interviewing Travis Chen for mental health purposes, and we're going to just go into depth around mental health. We have some questions that we've already created to help guide the conversation for those who have challenges with mental health. This podcast is for you. My podcast, Come Back to Success episode for Travis Chen. We're going to learn a lot about mental health, gain a lot of wisdom, and gain a lot of perspective from another person who has a lot of experience. I'm really looking forward to getting into this with you, Travis. So, with that being said, let me go into the quick Travis intro to give him his proper intro. Travis Chen is a Gen Z changemaker, speaker, author, and podcaster dedicated to making an impact on this world. Born in Taipei, Taiwan, and raised in Arcadia, California, Travis is recognized across the world as a tech enthusiast and champion for mental health, and has been named to the LinkedIn Top Voice program and Forbes 30 Under 30 list for his work in the mental health technology industry. Travis is an alumni of the University of Southern California with a major in international relations and global business. In 2023, Chen published his first book titled A Kid's Book About First Generation Immigrants, where he speaks about him and his family's journey of being immigrants to the United States. Travis is currently on the mental health board at Amazon Web Services, where he serves and leads conversations around mental health in the workplace, in the workforce, and how to live healthy, balanced life. Ladies and gentlemen, Travis Chen.
Brandon, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on your podcast and the work that you're doing and the work that you're doing to amplify the voices of mental health is so, so important. And I'm so proud of what you've been able to accomplish and continue to accomplish for our community.
Thank you, Travis. I'm really excited for doing this with you. Thank you for being able to come together and make it work out for your schedule. So, with that being said, let's get started then. What would be the biggest piece of advice that you can give to someone who is struggling with their mental health?
Yeah. Well, Brandon, thank you so much again, for having me on. And what's so important when you ask this question is to think and to reflect on the amount of people around our world that are struggling with mental health, right? I think there's been a truly increase of mental health awareness in the United States, but around the world, right? On the importance of talking about mental health and the importance of expressing our own emotions, right? Whether that's within schools or in the workplace or amongst our families or friends. And too many communities around the world are still struggling around the stigma about talking about mental health. And so we live in a very privileged place, right? In America, United States, where we can talk about our struggles with mental health. But the biggest advice that I can give to someone that's struggling with their mental health is to recognize that they're not alone, and that these emotions that they're feeling is completely normal. It might not feel that way in the moment. It might not feel that way when you're having anxiety or those panic attacks or those moments of depression, but that you're never, never alone. And it's okay to seek resources. It's okay to find what works for you because what works for you might be very different than what works for other people. And what works for other people might be very different than what works for you. And so really finding and identifying and embracing those moments of challenge and those moments of struggle and understanding that you're struggling is the key, is the number one factor to then solving and finding those ways of mechanisms of improving your mental health. And that's a I often say that's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? And it takes time, it takes energy, it takes focus to recenter yourself, to refocus yourself, right? To find what works for you. And so that's what I say to everyone that's struggling with their mental health. And it looks different for every single person, right? And for those who might not be struggling with their mental health, recognize that people around you, whether that's your colleagues that are sitting next to you in the office or someone right next to you on that bus to work, right? Or that person that's driving right next to you on the highway, right? Everyone's struggling with their own mental health in different ways. And it's important to have that emotional intelligence and to recognize that everyone is struggling with something, right? And we need to be there for each other.
I love what you're saying, Travis. You're giving really good insight, really good perspective. Your perspective is very global as well. So you not only are you harping on the people that are impacted here in the US, but you're also talking about people beyond the US who are also being impacted by mental health. That's really great perspective and wisdom that you have. The one thing that I will also add to that with what you're saying is the fact that when we're focusing on our passions, things that make us feel alive, things that make us feel like we're growing, that can totally help us become more in a more grounded state of mindset and actually have more purpose. And that's the big problem with a lot of people in this country, as well as beyond the country, who have mental illness, who don't have a purpose in their life. And because they don't have a purpose, they're struggling and they're just
Yep.
like roaming and trying to figure out how to be better for themselves. And so my calling for all the people that are tuning into this is to ask yourself this one question: Am I being purposeful with my life? How am I
Hmm.
gaining more momentum to being the best version of myself and actually having purpose in my life so that I can succeed and feel happy and feel like I'm actually becoming the best version of myself? That takes a lot of effort and energy to focus on. But if more people can start to do that, we can become a better united community.
100%, Brandon. And you said it exactly what I've been expressing to my family and my friends and to the global community is finding that purpose of your life, right? Because when you're able to find purpose, you wake up every day more driven, more excited, more passionate about what you're trying to accomplish, right?
And the other
And
thing
driving, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, sometimes it doesn't just happen overnight either. Like for
Hmm.
me, my recovery, this has taken me years to get to this point in my life. And so recognizing
Absolutely.
that micro wins are better than nothing. And taking it
Right.
one step at a time. Like for me, I went on a walk today and I did this podcast. That's probably all I'm gonna do today, but that's okay. And that's part of the process in terms of gaining momentum and progress. If I do more, great, then that's awesome.
Right.
It's just like recognizing that not every day is a perfect day, and also recognizing sometimes your limitations when you might feel like you've been focusing on a lot in your life. So that would be my other perspective.
Yep. 100%. 100%. Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah. Why is it important that the youth population learn more about mental health?
It's so key. And I'll give you an example. In high school, and I graduated high school not too long ago, right? About 7 years ago. Um, Even when I was in high school, we never talked about mental health. We didn't talk about therapy. We didn't talk about meditation, right? And I had to hide in my own car before I went to school, before, 8 a.m., the bell rang to
Mm.
meditate because I was scared of the stigma that people would see if I was meditating, during the lunch break or during recess, right? And it's those moments where you recognize that we are living in such a privileged place where we're talking about these things. We're talking about inclusion of these different feelings, right? We're talking when you visit. I was visiting a school just a couple of months ago when I was doing a keynote speech, and I saw all over the campus where we were talking about, hey, emotions and being kind to one another and being open to discussing what you're feeling and your thoughts, right? That wasn't a thing even 7 years ago, right? And so it's so important for the youth population today to learn about mental health because mental health starts when you're young, right? Your journey to living a balanced, healthy mind starts when you're young. No, later when you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s, right? By then, I hate to say it, but it might be a little bit late to incorporate those habits into your daily lifestyle, right? But so when you're young, you start young, you're able to incorporate those habits, whether that's meditation, whether that's learning that, hey, you need to go on a run, or hey, you need to talk to a therapist, or you need to figure out, who that person you can talk to is. That starts when you're young. And so when you're able to incorporate that into your habits, just like, going out and exercising, just like learning a new skill, like, taking art classes, right? These are things that you want to start when you're young. And the earlier that you start, and the earlier that parents and teachers are able to start teaching kids, the better that you're going to see the students, in fact, in terms
Yeah.
of the effectiveness to their mental health.
I love what you're saying, Travis. Great points there. The other thing that I wanted to add to what you're saying is that when we're going through challenges, and especially in our youth, if we might know somebody who is going through challenges, but we're able to be educated on how to help them, that can totally save lives and also save people to give them a source of support. And so you can find yourself in a leadership position to helping other people when you know how to help people who have mental health challenges. And so that's where by having the youth learn more about mental health, they can then help other people, their peers who are might be struggling and going through challenges. And also just the other thing that I'll add to that is just that the fact that empathy is so important in this game of life. And so when we have empathy for ourselves, we can then have empathy for others. But it starts with ourselves and recognizing who we are as individuals and that we are very talented in our own ways, but just recognizing that it starts young. You have to give yourself a lot of positive self-esteem to build off of that, and then you enter your adult life, and you are much more capable for doing big things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, ready, Travis?
Yep.
Okay, what are some ways that someone who is struggling with mental health can bounce back? What are some of the catalysts to bounce back?
Well, Brendan, I think you touched on it earlier, is finding what drives you, right? What is your passion? What is that spark, right? What is something that is inspiring to you, right? And like you said, it doesn't happen overnight. It might take years, right? It might take decades to find, how can you bounce back? What drives you every single day to wake up more excited, more driven, more passionate about what you're doing, right? And so finding that spark takes time, right? So I encourage people to, do a vision board, right? Or go on a retreat or go talk to people in different fields and industries, right? If you're not happy within the industry, there's hundreds of different industries and occupations out there that might be more fit for you, right? Doing that and learning, taking that muscle to take a step back, right? Sometimes you need to take a step back in order to, do 3, 5, 10 steps forward, right? And it's so
Exactly.
important to be able to do that and identify that sometimes that just takes time, right?
Yes. Success isn't linear either. So it's like it's not going to
Mm.
be like this. It's going to be like this to get to the to
Absolutely.
where you want to go.
Absolutely.
And so just
Uh,
give yourself that grace and empathy that for those of you that are tuning in, just stay positive and give yourself that grace to give yourself time to figure out what makes you happy, what makes you feel good, what gives you passion and more of a sense of desire to win and succeed and to feel happy in your life.
100%.
All right. How can friends and family members best support someone with a mental health condition?
Yeah. Well, first of all, what's important when you're aware of someone experiencing anxiety or depression or another kind of mental health condition is to be there for them, right? To be there for them. Because those who are struggling, and I struggle with my anxiety and depression as well, is
Yeah.
I feel lonely, right? And I feel like I am alone, and I feel like I need someone to talk to. And those friends and families that have been there for me, right, and been there for other people that I know that are struggling or have the mental health condition, they struggle when people are not there for them, right? They struggle when people are not there to support them and to be with them. And so it's so important to be visible, right? To acknowledge that you're there. You might not have all the answers. You might not know exactly how to console them or to comfort them, but the fact that you're there and the fact that you're verbally or physically apparent that you're supporting them, that's the foundation, right? That's the foundation that you want to build for people who are
Yes.
struggling.
And I think to take it even one step further is how are you being genuine with your loved one?
Yes,
Because the genuineness comes into play as well, so that they're already going through a lot of challenges at the time, but by taking it one step forward and saying, just allowing them to vent and share their voice, their needs, that can
right.
totally help them get even one step further so that they can grow and make a better decision for their recovery.
100%.
Okay. What changes would you like to see in how society approaches mental health? I love this question.
That's a great question, and I did do a lot of thinking about this one. And for me, what I would love to see is continued momentum, around destigmatizing mental health, not just in the United States, but around the world. What was that?
Conversations, more people.
Having conversations, right? And destigmatizing can look like having conversations, or it could look like, being able to talk about it in your workplace, especially in the workplace, where in corporate America, a lot of people don't even talk about it within teams, right? We don't even talk about, hey, having that balanced life, right, inside and outside of
It's
work,
hard to
right?
do when there's a lot of
And
stigma.
it's hard to do when you have millions of things to do, right? So I want us as a society to be able to continue those conversations and to talk about it specifically in the workplace when you're struggling. And then number two, go
Yeah.
ahead, Brandon.
I was just gonna say, I love how you're so ambitious about being on the board of directors with the Amazon mental health team. That's so powerful, and that's such a great avenue that you can help destigmatize and help your company to better be more opportunistic about mental health.
Well, thank you. And it's so important for me, and it's something that I'm very, very passionate about. And we do, panels and different engagements to break the stigma, right? To break the stigma on mental health, despite how busy we might be. And then, the other thing that I wanted to point out is on a global scale, right? There are still a lot of communities out there, and I grew up in a community where we didn't talk about mental health. We didn't want to talk about it at all, right? And so I want to be able to live in a society where globally we're talking about
Mm.
ways to help with our mental health, whether that's
Ambitious.
with meditation, right? Whether that's with different types of music, whether that's with, therapy. And, whenever I talk about therapy, I always remind myself, I just finished a therapy session this morning. I always remind myself how privileged we are, right? How privileged we are to be able to pay and afford therapy, right? And to have those resources with licensed professionals to help us with our own struggles, right? And to recognize that as the first step. But on a global level, right, recognizing that we need to help people who are struggling and that might not be as privileged as we are to afford therapy and to afford these different mechanisms, right? And so, being able to do that, whether that's through nonprofits, whether that's through different programs, whether that's investing into resources to help other people, is so 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 key to continue to break the stigma around mental health.
That's well said, Travis. Yeah, I love what you're saying. And I think that also just how we focus on how we treat other people is really a big way of starting the conversation about how people judge you and how people like view you as a person. And when you're being a positive light and you're being kind towards other people and being opportunistic about the in a positive way, then people can start to question, why is this guy so nice to me? Why is this guy doing so good? Oh yeah, he's focused on mental health and he's focused on helping a lot of people who want to grow and who want to become better individuals. And that's where it all starts to just starts from your own actions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so the last question, Travis, what do you do for fun that keeps you happy?
I'm a very big adventurer, and I love traveling around the world. And I'm very ha lucky to be able to have explored many, many countries around the world.
Wow.
And for me, that gives me happiness because I'm able to open my perspective to different cultures, different religions, different
Yeah.
communities, different people of different backgrounds. And it's just so fascinating, right? To be able to explore the world and to see historical sites and to understand how people are using technology and leveraging technology and also breaking the stigma on mental health, right? And that for me has been so key to my happiness. But on a daily basis, I meditate every day. I make sure that I take care of my own mental health in that way and also exercise. I love exercising. I'm at the gym quite a lot. I'm, doing my 10,000 steps as much as I can daily. And then of course, with the support of my family and my friends, I'm so thankful to be able to enjoy good time with friends and family, whether that's through food, whether that's through, going on long walks or going on bike rides. To me, that gives me happiness, right? Beyond the good happy feelings and moments that we do, right? Like Christmas and birthdays and New Year's, etc. That gives me happiness every day.
Awesome, Travis. Well, thank you so much for being on this podcast interview today. I feel like we covered a lot today. I hope all of you that were tuning in really learned a lot about our perspectives from mental health to help give benefit for you all who are trying to get your life back in order and being on the straight path for success and for your own wellness. With that being said, this is going to wrap up our conversation today with Travis, but we hope that you enjoyed this conversation as much as we loved creating this for you today. And with that being said, we're gonna end the episode. Thank you all, and thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Brandon, for having me. Take care.